There was a wise man, a great craftsman. The Lord formed love for him and received him, that he should behold the highest dwellings, that he should be an eyewitness of the wise, inconceivable, great and immutable realm of God Almighty, the very wonderful, glorious, bright, and manifold station of the Lord's servants, the inaccessible throne of the Lord, and of the degrees and manifestations of the incorporeal hosts, the ineffable ministration of the multitude of the elements, the various apparition and inexpressible singing of the host of cherubim and of the boundless light. At that time he said, when my 165th year was completed, I begat my son Methuselah. After that I lived 200 years and completed all the years of my life, 365 years. On the first day of the month I was in my house alone, resting on my bed and sleeping. When I was asleep, great distress came into my heart. I was weeping in sleep, and I could not understand what this distress was or what would happen to me. There appeared to me two men, who were exceedingly large, larger than I had ever seen on the earth. Their faces were shining like the sun, and their eyes were like burning lights. They were singing, and from their lips came fire. Their clothing was of various kinds in appearance and colored purple. Their wings were brighter than gold and their hands whiter than snow. They were standing at the head of my bed and began to call me by my name. I arose from my sleep and saw clearly those two men standing in front of me. I greeted them and was seized with fear. The appearance of my face was changed to terror, and they said to me, Enoch, do not fear, the eternal God has sent us to you. Today you shall ascend with us into heaven. You shall tell your sons and all your household what they shall do without you on earth in your house. Let no one seek you until the Lord returns you to them. I made haste to obey them, went out from my house, and summoned my sons Methuselah, Regem and Gated. I made known to them all the marvels those men had told me. Listen to me, my children, I know not where I will go, or what will befall me. Therefore, my children, I tell you not to turn away from God in front of those who are vain, those who did not make heaven and earth, for they shall perish, and those who worship them. May the Lord make your hearts confident in the fear of Him. Now, my children, let no one think to seek me until the Lord returns me to you. It came to pass, after Enoch had told his sons, that the angels took him onto their wings and bore him up onto the first heaven, and placed him on the clouds. There I looked, and again I looked higher, I saw the ether. They placed me on the first heaven, and showed me a very great sea, greater than the earthly sea. They brought before my face the elders and rulers of the stellar orders, and showed me 200 angels, who rule the stars in their services to the heavens, and fly with their wings, and come round all those who sail. And here I looked down and saw the treasure houses of the snow, and the angels who keep their terrible storehouses, and the clouds whence they come out and into which they go. They showed me the treasure house of the dew, like oil of the olive, and the appearance of its form, as of all the flowers of the earth. Further, many angels guarding the treasure houses of these things, and how they are made to shut and open. And those men took me and led me up to the second heaven, and showed me darkness, greater than earthly darkness, and there I saw prisoners hanging, watched, awaiting the great and boundless judgment, and these angels' spirits were dark-looking, more than earthly darkness, and incessantly weeping through all hours. And I said to the men who were with me, Wherefore are these incessantly tortured? They answered me, These are the rebels who did not obey the commands of God. They took counsel with their own will, and turned away with their prince, who is also fastened on the fifth heaven. I felt great pity for them. They called out to me and said, Man of God, pray for us to the Lord. I answered them, Who am I, a mortal man, that I should pray for angels? Who knows where I will go, what will befall me, or who will pray for me? Then those men took me, and led me up to the third heaven, and placed me there. And I looked downwards, and saw what is produced in these places, Such goodness has never been known. And I saw all the sweet flowering trees, and beheld their fruits, which were sweet smelling, and all the foods born of them bubbling with fragrant exhalation. In the midst of the trees of life, in that place where the Lord rests, when he goes into paradise. This tree is of ineffable goodness and fragrance, adorned more than any other existing thing. On all sides its form is like gold, vermilion, and bright like fire. Its brilliance covers it entirely, and it produces fruits of all kinds. Its roots are in the garden at the earth's end, in the paradise which is between corruptibility and incorruptibility. Two springs come out, and send forth milk and honey. The springs send forth oil and wine. They separate into 4 parts, and go around with quiet course, as they go down into the paradise of Eden. Then they go forth along the earth, and have a revolution to their circle as other elements. In this place there is no unfruitful tree, and everything is blessed. There are 300 very bright angels who keep the garden, with constant sweet singing, and never silent voices. They serve the Lord throughout all the days and hours. I said, "How very sweet is this place," and those men said to me, "Enoch, this place is prepared for the righteous, who endure all manner of offense from those that exasperate their souls, who avert their eyes from iniquity, make righteous decisions, give bread to the hungry, cover the needy with clothing, help injured orphans, and raise up those who have fallen. Those who walk without fault before the face of the Lord, and serve him alone. For them this place is prepared as their eternal inheritance." Then those 2 men led me up to the northern side, and showed me a very terrible place. There were all manner of tortures in that place, cruel darkness and unilluminated gloom. There is no light there, only murky fire constantly burning. There is a fiery river coming forth, and that whole place is consumed with fire. But there is also ice and frost everywhere, thirsting and shivering. The bonds are very cruel, and the angels there are terrifying and merciless. They bear horrible weapons, and have no pity with their torture. I said, "Woe, how very terrible this place is." And those men said to me, "Enoch, this place is prepared for those who dishonor God, who on earth practice sin against nature, with child corruption, magic making, enchantments and devilish witchcrafts, and who boast of their wicked deeds, stealing, telling lies, calumnies, envy, rancor, fornication, murder, and who are accursed, steal the souls of men. Those who see the poor and take away their goods, those who pretend to be rich, those who injure others for the benefit of themselves and their allies, those who, being able to satisfy the empty, made the hungry to die, being able to clothe, stripped the naked, and who knew not their Creator, and bowed to the soulless gods, vain gods who cannot see nor hear. They built graven images and bowed down to unclean handiwork. For all those, this place is prepared for their eternal inheritance." Then those men took me, and led me up to the 4th heaven, and showed me all the successive goings, and all the rays of the light of sun and moon. And I measured their goings, and compared their light, and saw that the sun's light is greater than the moon's. Its circle and the wheels which it always goes on, like the wind going past with very marvelous speed, which day and night has no rest. Its passage and return are accompanied by 4 great stars. Each star has under it 1,000 stars. There are 4 stars to the right of the sun's wheel, and 4 stars to the left, each having under it 1,000 stars, altogether 8,000, traveling with the sun continually. By day, 15 myriads of angels attend it, and by night, 1,000 angels attend it. The 6 winged ones go forth with the angels before the sun's wheel, into the fiery flames, and 100 angels kindle the sun, and set it alight. I looked and saw other flying elements of the sun, whose names are phoenixes and chalkidri, marvelous and wonderful, with feet and tails in the form of a lion, a crocodile's head, their appearance purple, and like a rainbow. Their size is 900 measures, and their wings like those of angels, with each having 12. They attend and accompany the sun, bearing heat and dew, as God has ordered them. Thus the sun revolves, it goes and rises under the heavens, and its course goes under the earth with the light of its rays continually. Those men bore me away to the east, and placed me at the sun's gates, where the sun goes forth according to the regulation of the seasons, and the circuit of the months of the whole year, and the number of the hours day and night. I saw 6 gates open, each gate having 61 stadia, and a quarter of 1 stadium. I measured truly, and understood their size, through which the sun goes forth, and goes to the west, and is made even. It rises throughout all the months, and turns back again from the 6 gates according to the succession of the seasons. Thus the whole year is finished after the return of the 4 seasons. Again those men led me away to the western parts, and showed me 6 great gates open corresponding to the eastern gates, opposite to where the sun sets, according to the number of the days 365 and a quarter. Thus, again it goes down to the western gates, and draws away its light, the greatness of its brightness under the earth. Since the crown of its shining is in heaven with the Lord, and guarded by 400 angels, while the sun goes round on its wheel under the earth, and stands 7 great hours in night, and spends half its course under the earth. When it comes to the eastern approach in the 8th hour of the night, it brings its lights, and the crown of shining, and the sun flames forth more than fire. Then the elements of the sun, called phoenixes and chalkidri, break into song. Therefore every bird flutters with its wings, rejoicing at the giver of light, and they break into song at the command of the Lord. The giver of light comes to give brightness to the whole world, and the morning guard takes shape, which is the rays of the sun, and the sun of the earth goes out, and receives its brightness, to light up the whole face of the earth. And they showed me this calculation of the sun's going, and the gates which it enters. These are the great gates of the calculation of the hours of the year. For this reason the sun is a great creation, whose circuit lasts 28 years, and begins again from the beginning. Those men showed me the other course, that of the moon, 12 great gates, crowned from west to east, by which the moon goes in and out of the customary times. It goes in at the first gate to the western places of the sun, by the first gates with 31 days exactly, by the second gates with 31 days exactly, by the third with 30 days exactly, by the fourth with 30 days exactly, by the fifth with 31 days exactly, by the sixth with 31 days exactly, by the seventh with 30 days exactly, by the eighth with 31 days perfectly, by the ninth with 31 days exactly, by the 10th with 30 days perfectly, by the 11th with 31 days exactly, by the 12th with 28 days exactly. And it goes through the western gates in the order and number of the eastern, accomplishing the 365 and a quarter days of the solar year, while the lunar year has 354, lacking 12 days of the solar circle, which are the lunar epochs of the whole year. Thus, the great circle contains 532 years. The quarter of a day is omitted for 3 years, the fourth fulfills it exactly. Therefore they are taken outside of heaven for 3 years, and are not added to the number of days. Because they change the time of the years, 2 new months towards completion and 2 others towards diminution. When the western gates are finished, it returns and goes to the eastern to the lights, and goes thus day and night about the heavenly circles. Lower than all circles, swifter than the heavenly winds, spirits, elements and angels flying, with each angel having 6 wings. It has a 7-fold course in 19 years. In the midst of the heavens I saw armed soldiers, serving the Lord, with tympana and organs, with constant voice, with sweet song, sweet and constant voices of various singing, which is impossible to describe, and which astonishes every mind. So wonderful and marvelous is the singing of those angels. I was delighted listening to it. Then the men took me to the fifth heaven, and there I saw many and countless soldiers, called Grigori, of human appearance, but their size greater than that of the giants and their faces withered. The silence of their mouths is perpetual, and there was no service on the fifth heaven. I said to the men who were with me, "For what reason are their faces very withered and melancholy? With their mouths silent, and there is no service on this heaven." They said to me, "These are the Grigori, and with their prince who is Satan, they rejected the Lord of light. After them are those who are held in great darkness on the second heaven. 3 of them went down to earth from the Lord's throne, to the place known as Hermon, and broke through their vows on the shoulder of Mount Hermon. They saw the daughters of men, how good they are, and took to themselves wives. They fouled the earth with their deeds. In all the times of their age they made lawlessness and mixing of species. Giants were born, enormously big men with great enmity. Therefore God judged them with great judgment, and they weep for their brethren, and they will be punished on the Lord's great day." I said to the Grigori, "I saw your brethren and their works, and their great torments, and I prayed for them, but the Lord has condemned them under earth till heaven and earth shall end forever." I said to them, "Why do you languish, and not serve the Lord? Why have you not put your services before the Lord's face, lest you anger your Lord utterly?" They listened to my admonition, and spoke to the 4 ranks in heaven. As I stood with those 2 men, 4 trumpets sounded together with a great voice, and the Grigori broke into song with one voice, and their voice went up before the Lord pitifully and affectingly. When I saw all these things, those men said to me, "Enoch, we have been commanded to journey with you up to this point." Those men went away from me, and I did not see them again. I remained alone at the end of the 7th heaven and became afraid. I fell on my face and said to myself, "Woe is me, what has befallen me?" And the Lord sent one of his glorious ones, the archangel Gabriel. Gabriel said to me, "Enoch, do not fear, arise before the Lord's face and into eternity. Arise and come with me." I answered him, and said in myself, "My Lord, my soul is departed from me, from terror and trembling," and I called to the men who led me up to this place. I relied on them, and I want to go with them before the Lord's face. Gabriel lifted me up, as a leaf caught up by the wind, and placed me before the Lord's face. And I saw the 8th heaven, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Musaleth, changer of the seasons, of drought, and of rain, and of the 12 constellations of the circle of the firmament which are above the 7th heaven. I saw the 9th heaven, which is called in Hebrew Kachavim, the heavenly homes of the 12 constellations of the circle of the firmament. On the 10th heaven, which is called Aravath, I saw the appearance of the Lord's face, like iron made to glow in fire, emitting sparks as it burns. Thus, in a moment of infinity I saw the Lord's face. The Lord's face is marvelous, ineffable, very awesome, and very, very terrifying. Who am I to tell of the Lord's unspeakable being, and of his very wonderful face? I cannot tell the quantity of his many instructions, and various voices. The Lord's throne is very great, and not made with hands, nor the quantity of those standing round him, troops of cherubim and seraphim, nor their constant singing, nor his immutable beauty, and who shall tell of the ineffable greatness of his glory? I fell prone and bowed down to the Lord, and the Lord said to me, "Enoch, do not fear, arise and stand before my face into eternity." The archangel Michael lifted me up, and led me before the Lord's face. The Lord said to his servants tempting them, "Let Enoch stand before my face into eternity." And the glorious ones bowed down to the Lord, and said, "Let Enoch go according to your word." And the Lord said to Michael, "Go and take Enoch out of his earthly garments, and anoint him with my sweet ointment, and put him into the garments of my glory." Michael did thus, as the Lord told him. He anointed me, and dressed me, and the appearance of that ointment is more than the great light, and his ointment is like sweet dew, and its smell mild, shining like the sun's rays. I looked at myself, and I was transfigured, like one of his glorious ones. The Lord summoned one of his archangels named Pravil, whose knowledge was quicker in wisdom than the other archangels, who wrote all the deeds of the Lord. And the Lord said to Pravil, "Bring out the books from my storehouses, and a reed of quick writing, and give it to Enoch. Deliver to him the choice and comforting books out of your hand." He was telling me all the works of heaven, earth, and sea, and all the elements, their passages and goings, the thunderings of the thunders, the sun and moon, the goings and changes of the stars, the seasons, years, days, hours, and the risings of the wind, the numbers of the angels, and the formation of their songs, and all human things, the tongue of every human song and life, the commandments, instructions, and sweet-voiced singing, and all things that it is fitting to learn. Pravil told me, "All the things that I have told you and all we have written. Sit and write all the souls of mankind, however many of them are born, and the places prepared for them to eternity. For all souls are prepared to eternity before the formation of the world. All double 30 days and 30 nights, and I wrote out all things exactly, and wrote 366 books.